Hey everybody, TEMITOPE here. Happy February. So glad to be coming to you from Fort Negley. This place has a very complicated history and I wrote a lot of it down so that I wouldn't mess it up. So we're gonna dive right into it. Fort Negley was the largest inland stone fortification built during the Civil War and was the centerpiece of the Union Army. The Union Army came and conquered Nashville and occupied it in 1862. And what many of us were taught in school was that the Union Army came together to preserve the Union, the United States, and also to end slavery. And I would argue that the latter half probably isn't as much true as the first part of it, preserving the Union. You might ask why? Well, that's because from August to December 1862, almost 3,000 free black people and enslaved black people were used to construct this fort. Children as young as 13 and adults as old as 55 were forced into hard manual labor to build this fort that we're standing at now on top of the St. Cloud Hill. The workers slept on the ground with no tents, almost no provisions, no food or water. There were no outhouses, so people were just going to the bathroom all over the place. The site was filled with human feces and pee. It was a very, very hard place to be living and working. There was a creek that the water came from that ran into the fort from a cemetery. So not only are you dealing with human waste and human feces, but you're also dealing with literally deceased humans that are polluting the water that then these enslaved and free black people were forced to drink as they were being forced to build this fort. When I think about the unjust treatment of these black people that were forced to build this historic site that we're at today, it contradicts what Jesus taught us as his followers, and I think was so clearly and aptly said in the book of John. John 15:13. Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends. Because Jesus didn't come to free us by enslaving us. Instead, Jesus subjected himself to death. He put himself down on earth. Heaven came down to earth, subjected himself to the beating, the kicking, and the scourging, and the cursing, and the crown of thorns, and the death on a cross. He subjected himself to all of this, and even facing death and defeating it so that we might become free. He showed us the example of how we ought to live, that we should serve each other, not enslave each other. We should wish the best for one another, not give the worst to one another. I pray that we're more like Jesus. I pray that we can exemplify that heart and that as we come to sites like this site, Fort Negley, and as we remember and mourn what our country has done unjustly in treating people that look like me, and also can celebrate how today in 2025 we have come a very long way and also have a long way to go. That we can look at the example of Jesus and say, we want to move forward with that heart in mind and not the evil, sinful heart of mankind that does such evil towards people. On February 21st, I'm actually releasing a song that is in a lot of ways inspired by that verse that I read in John 15. The song's called How Beautiful the Wounds. I wrote it with my buddy Justin Chwito, and our prayer is that it reminds us, the church, that the cross, though it is a picture of pain, it is also a picture of beauty because it was through the death of Christ and his resurrection that we have been freed. We've been brought from death to life. Then in March, on March 7th, I'm going to be releasing a new song called No Broken Bones. It's one of my favorite songs to date. It's a continuation of the celebration of what I said in John 19, that no greater love for us than this, than he who laid down his life for his friends. Well, one of the really cool facts about how Jesus laid down his life for us was that in John chapter 19, it was the picture of the crucifixion. Jesus died, there's people on his right and his left that were killed with him. When they were to help them to basically die, they would break the legs of these crucified people so that their whole body weight would fall and their lungs would fill up with blood and they would die. So they were breaking the legs of the one on his right, they broke the legs of the one on his left, and when they got to Jesus, they didn't break his bones. Instead, they stabbed him, in the side with a spear, and then blood and water poured out because he was already dead. What was cool about that is in John chapter 19, that very act of them not breaking his bones fulfilled a scripture that was quoting the Psalms that not a single one of his bones would be broken. So that's what no broken bones is about. I hope you enjoy it. Also, in February, I'm releasing a song with my buddy John Stratton called Preeminence, which is about God being above all things. I'm super excited about that. He's releasing it. I got a feature on it. Please check that out as well. As the song comes up, I just want to continue to encourage you. Y'all have been so great about sharing my music. Thank you for sharing it. I'm really excited. On Spotify alone, we're seeing just an increase of monthly listeners, and that is no doubt a result of you being consistent to share the music with your friends and with your family. So thank you for doing that. As these new songs are coming out, please continue doing the same thing. It's also really helpful when you engage with me on socials. Ben, who's behind the camera, and I spend a lot of time shooting videos and making content so that there's stuff for you to interact with, and when you share it and when you comment, it just helps more people to find out who I am and the ministry that God has given us to do together. So thanks for continuing to do that. And also prayer. That is, like I've said so many times, one of the most, if not the most important thing that you can be doing for me as I'm traveling and getting to share this ministry with people all over the world. So again, thank you so much just for being a part of this and for helping me to do what I believe God has called me and my family to do. And when I say we get to share these songs all over the world, I'm super excited because in February, I'm going to be doing my first worship leading event in New Zealand for a Stronger conference. And they found out about who I am just, again, through hearing my music and seeing me at the ICOM conference in Lexington last year. And so in a very real way, we have gotten to share. Last year we did Canada, we're going to Canada again this year, but now we're adding New Zealand just to the church partners that are calling me in and are being blessed by my music because they're hearing it from you, sharing it, and it's blessing their community. So I'm really excited. I hope that you are too. Thank you so much for being along for the journey, and we'll see you sometime soon.